Here we go. You're on.
Yeah, I'm on.
You're
Hello,
on.
hello,
You're
hello, hello. How you doing?
I'm alright. How are you doing? What
I'm
day are
good,
we?
thank you.
What day are we? Saturday? Sunday? Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah, my
Saturday.
day. I did actually genuinely forget what day it was. I think it was Wednesday. No, it was Thursday. And I genuinely thought, what day is it? I don't really get this. And I was like, I need to organise I thought I had clients when I didn't have clients because they were booked in for the next day. Yeah, very confusing.
It is a
But
little bit.
what we're going to talk about today is emotional eating. This is a big one for my clients. How about you, Kim? What have you been finding?
Oh, massively. Emotional eating can be a huge thing for my clients. It can be what can kind of keep them off achieving what they think their goals are. I just think the emotional side, obviously it's emotional eating, it's the beating up of yourself if you've done something like that. So I've had experiences of it in the past. I'm not like free of it myself, but I think when you become a lot more aware of why and what you're doing it, the awareness is key.
Yeah.
But you produced some great things today, like obviously which we'll talk about, is actually being able to recognize hunger signals and understand ourselves a little bit more and understand why we do emotionally eat. It's not for the sake of hunger, of course, but it very much takes over your body, doesn't it, very fast. And suddenly, like, you've had a binge. I'm not gonna lie, I did used to do this, and suddenly you'd be like, well, why did I do that? And then you'd battle yourself with going back and forth, going, right, now I'm gonna train really hard, I'm gonna be back on the wagon, and use this terminology of being good, bad, the bloody wagon. I just want to smash up that freaking wagon because I'm so
Yeah, but the thing
fed
is,
up of it.
it's actually embedded in our vocabulary, and I think this is the thing: is that we are having to almost retrain our brains about how we view food and how we view our behaviours, because that's a really interesting one that I touch on with my clients. Is that they'll be so committed to healthy eating throughout the week and now have one thing that they consider bad or negative, and then that kind of throws off their whole psyche. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
it's kind of one chocolate bar or one takeaway will be, oh, this week has been terrible, I've been really bad. And it's like, no, because look at all the great things that you've achieved around it. And it's about the whole kind
balance.
of connection. Yeah, it's about
balance. You should be able to. I'll be like, I actually want you to have that because it's going to give you adherence. Like, life is a mixture of healthy foods and foods that are slightly more calorific, and it's actually about enjoying those foods. It's when you're starting to go subconsciously and not be mindful about what you're eating, and you're actually eating that for a different reason. That's when we've got problems. And often we go for those sweet fixes, don't we? Because we know from our understanding of it all, it gives you endorphins, it gives you that release of feeling comforted, because essentially that's what emotional eating is. It is for comfort and fulfilling a need that you're wanting.
Yeah, of course it is. And I think it's checking in with those hunger signals is a really big thing, because there's lots of different cues for that hunger. And I think it's recognizing that when it's emotional eating in particular, it's trying to work out a process where you can interrupt that, because you kind of have this timeline, don't you, of emotional eating, where you'll be, I'm hungry. And they'll be, okay, why are you hungry? That's as soon as you get those hunger pans, it's like, okay, why am I hungry? What is this actual reason behind hunger? And, is it boredom? Is it the fact that you haven't eaten nutritionally, up to that point? Because even if you're eating lots and lots of foods, if that food doesn't contain a lot of nutrition, your body's still going to be depleted and still going to be craving particular food. So if you're in a cycle of emotional eating and you're feeding using kind of high calorific foods that are nutrient dense but not nutritionally balanced, you're not actually feeding yourself in the correct way. And so then you're in this loop of, oh, what can I eat next? What's in the fridge? I mean, the amount of I've done it myself all last week, Kim, seriously. I was going to that fridge and I was like, it was almost like I was wishing some kind of like food in there, because I don't tend to buy foods that I know I'm going to go crazy on, especially in times like this, because you know, I am that person who will demolish a packet of biscuits in one sitting. I'm an all or nothing person. It's either in my mouth, in my stomach, gone. So I have to make sure that those things aren't around, because I know that I have that tendency to do that when I'm feeling stressed. And I think last week in particular, I felt quite off balance and quite out of kilter, and I think that was that was what was triggering, because one, I wasn't eating breakfast, I was drinking loads of coffee, so of course your blood sugar levels are dropping, so you're immediately going to think, I need something, a quick fix to kind of get me out of this energy slump that I'm going through, and you're then searching for those carbohydrate rich foods to kind of, and then you find that you're picking throughout the day, always. And I think that's the big key. It's the fact that you're not, you know, I had to then make a decision and say, right, I have to make time for breakfast in the morning, because I know that's probably where I'm falling down. And as soon as I added that breakfast back in and made sure that my breakfast was nutritionally balanced, that almost kind of set my pathway then for the rest of the day. So I think it's one, taking a step back from that behavior and thinking, why am I doing this? And then putting tools in place to kind of prevent that cycle of emotional eating from continuing to occur, because it just will. And the thing is, with emotional eating, a lot of the time you're doing it subconsciously as well, so you're not
it's all subconscious. The thing is, it can go further, because you're very fortunate. What you've spoken about the whole time is people suddenly think that like you're suddenly going to be cured of like emotional eating once you know that like you've got it. It's like, oh, okay, that's never going to exist anymore. Like, we constantly, because you've currently got COVID, a big thing for people in an emotional need is for certainty. So this is actually everything's uncertain, isn't it, at the moment? So what you do is you seek comfort in what you know that's going to give you comfort. So
pleasure as well, something that's just going to make you feel a bit nice. Isn't it?
Absolutely. Oh my god, yeah. But the thing is we go for self-soothing and immediate gratification, but the most important thing in the whole process is what we're probably trying to do with our workbook is allow people to have awareness. You were able to talk me through exactly, and I've done the same this week, is to be go, okay, so my routine's out, I've not had breakfast, I've probably eaten, because I'm not the best cook, it's a challenge for me, which is great, I'm learning, but I'm like, right, okay, now I need to be more regimented in making sure I get nutrient dense food, because again, that's another problem when women diet, is that they don't have big enough meals like breakfast, lunch and dinner. But I'd probably say that with hunger cues, I think we're in a society where actually a lot of the time we don't actually know what hunger feels like, because we don't allow ourselves to go that far. But that's another topic. But in terms of like being able to determine between the two, if it's a binge eating moment, it's suddenly you just go straight for it and you're trying to feel full. So some people can, as you say, you can demolish a packet of biscuits. Some people can go further than that and start to raise everything else, and that's when you can go into a real state of emotional eating. But when we're trying to bring around self-awareness, you're going for your physiological cues of, okay, I'm feeling a rumbling in my stomach, I've actually got that pit of that need to eat. But when it's an emotional need, it's actually checking in with how you're feeling. And I don't know how aware we are of our emotions these days. So we've had a moment where we've got to stop with COVID and actually spend time with ourselves. That for a lot of people can actually be very uncomfortable to actually, because how often do we try and distract ourselves with things? We'll suddenly pick up our mobile phone, or we find it very difficult to just sit in the moment, because actually as human beings, we don't like to feel discomfort. We like to feel happy. So food kind of gives us that immediate feeling of release, of happiness, but it's short-lived. Whereas with it, unease, we can't sometimes pinpoint what that feeling is. So in the toolkit, that's why I've kind of given you some ideas of types of feelings and needs that we have. If you're not feeling that need, to say, for instance, as you said, that you felt stressed, so you were going for something to make you feel less stressed. We have the physiological response as well from that you could then start to think, right, I've acknowledged it, I've got awareness around I'm feeling stressed, I might be feeling anxious, I might be feeling lonely. That's going to be a big one at the moment. I might be feeling angry. We've got to start expanding our vocabulary with what we're actually feeling, so that then we can start to identify what we could do and put in place instead. But it's taking that moment to stop, to actually acknowledge what that feeling is. So I know we've spoken about loads of times, is Mel Robbins is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's actually taking that moment to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 before you go to the fridge, which I know is hard if you are in that subconscious eating everything mode. It can be hard to stop that phase. But if you can start to acknowledge your patterns and behaviors, you can start to put something else in. So say, for instance, I've given you an example in there. If I'm feeling lonely, is a bag of dairy milk going to make me feel better? Probably for about 5 minutes, because it is pretty good. But actually what would make me feel better and fulfill that need is connection. So I might FaceTime my family. All we're trying to do really is bring people's consciousness and awareness to themselves and how they're feeling, and we haven't really mastered that skill. I mean, it will, when there's emotional needs, you may need to, as I've put in there, when you're starting to look deeper while you're performing these self-sabotaging behaviors, it's no different than we harm ourselves with alcohol, or we harm ourselves with shopping addiction or anything like that. That's going to go a step deeper. So we don't expect people to go that far.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'm glad you're interested in what I'm saying. No, shaking. Bless you. But that's when you might then need to go and speak to someone to uncover what these behaviors are. But sometimes it can just be on a more surface level, that you are just replacing a feeling that you have that's of discomfort with something that you know that automatically is going to give you some sort of release. Our body is already programmed that we know, like as you said, like we go for carbohydrates. Why? Because it gives us energy, it gives us that chemical release, we feel better.
But it's also survival. That's going way back to kind of when we, you know, when we didn't have an abundance of food. So it's our innate kind of, you know, we're perceiving this as a danger, so we need to ensure that we have food and we have water, and you know, it's just basic human survival mechanisms. But you know, we are in a situation in the Western world where we have an abundance of everything, and you know, you're touching on that kind of hunger feeling that people have. We don't sit with hunger, and hunger's actually, we need to experience that, and we need to allow the body to have hunger, because that's our body, you know, processing all of the food and processing all of the nutrition that it's getting. And if we're constantly feeding on top of that, it's just overwhelming the body, and it's overwhelming the digestive processes, and that's why a lot of people then end up feeling bloated and discomfort and all of those things. So the snacking industry, which is another thing that we'll cover, you know, in another topic, but it's the snacking industry that has made people forget what hunger actually is. It's because we've, you know, they want to sell their snacks, so they invented these 2 extra meal times around the standard meal times that we have, and all of that just feeds into that kind of, you know, eating constantly all the time. And I think that's why then people are turning to that as a comfort as well.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're touching on habit, the thing is with habits and emotional eating, emotional eating is going to be different from a habit. So a habit is something that you can give up, but you can't, when you're changing a habit, you're setting yourself up to failure if you just say, I'm just going to stop it. Your body's already wired. So like, I am a creature of habit. I'll be like 11 a.m. right, I'll have my eat natural bar, like but and what, like literally my body will start to ramp up and be like, right, where is it but because it's not a physical need of mine, it's not like it's giving me a massive
hunger. That's not hunger, is it?
I know well, sometimes it is, right? Like I am a fitness instructor, I do need my energy. Actually, that's a load of BS. But if I wanted to change that and I wanted to get rid of that habit, I can't just go, right, I'm going to go cold turkey. It's to replace it with something else. So for me, it could be like, right, it's 11 a.m. I'm still going to perform a function of getting something, but what can I get that's going to be better for my body? And that might just be, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not going to go for a glass of water, even though I should, but I might go for an apple. That would be something that I'd be more likely to go for. So I'm gradually starting to change that habit.
Yeah.
Rather than this all or nothing, and then I'm not going to suddenly be like I've fallen off the wagon because I've gone for my Eat Natural bar. So it might be like the first week I managed the 5 days, the second week it might be like, oh, I've slipped up once. It's not I've slipped up, that habit's just popped back in. So you have to be self-aware to then actually work at it. Like it's putting it into perspective and framing the whole thing.
Yeah, it takes a long time actually for the body to change those behaviors and those patterns that you've got yourself into with regards to eating. That's a major shift that you do have to work on, because the body's used to trying to get what it can from what you've been feeding it.
But do you find with clients though, like, I know again, it's a psychological thing. It's like, say for instance, you go, right, I want to lose some weight, so you eat we go all or nothing. So you'll go too big the day after, going, right, I'm on a different way of eating to lose weight, and you'll get on the scales or just some sort of measurement, and you'll be like, well, I've done a day, why has it not changed? It's this whole idea of patience and putting it into perspective, because you're not going to suddenly see change in results straight away, because you're becoming someone different. So in terms of like with me changing a habit, I've got to be realistic in the fact that could take some time, and bigger habits that are ingrained deeper are going to take longer.
Totally.
And that's the same thing with like emotional eating. Once you can start to work, emotional eating means that you have to forget about exercise. It's about, I like to call it inner size.
Yeah, I like inner that.
But it is, because it's coming from you. It's coming from within, and it just depends on your ability to sit with discomfort and acknowledge what's not sitting right with you, what you are needing. And as I've said in that toolkit, is that I don't think we like as people to say that we have needs. But you have intrinsic needs, and needs are something that you cannot live without. And those emotional needs, we're all very different in terms of what we need. But say for instance, I need, especially like in this situation, which I've really realized, is connection to people. So if I'm not feeling connected and I'm not feeling acknowledged, how am I going to get that? I won't necessarily, if I don't sit with myself and realize that. In the past, I would have perhaps abused my body and gone to the fridge. And all it does is it just creates a cycle.
Yeah, but I would say that's probably where a lot of people are with that. I think, I think a lot, I would say that those are probably my triggers as well. It's that need to be connected and acknowledged, isn't it? Completely. And I think that's the missing link, and that's the searching then, and the that's what you're getting, isn't it, from doing that kind of emotional eating. So yeah, that really resonates with me as well.
Yeah, so it is when you're looking at, like with our jobs in terms of helping people get fit, helping people eat better, it always comes back to the self and how you feel about yourself and your actions and how you see your identity. So if you're not willing to look inside, all this other stuff, as hard as it is to say, isn't necessarily going to work for you, because they're not the solutions that are going to make you feel whole. You can get down to your ideal weight, you can run that race, you can get that job, but if you get there and you're like, well shit, I'm not happy, then you have to look at what you're needing fulfilled. This is a great, like, we're going completely off topic, but I just think at the moment where everybody's at home, it's given everybody a real chance to sit down and be with themselves in that situation and actually start to think about themselves. But but just in terms of emotional eating, it is self-awareness about your emotions and actually starting to gain some understanding around emotions, and not that they're bad, because I don't know about you, I'm a little bit emotional, and I always used to see that as a bad thing. you know, it's seen like, you know, women are too emotional, they cry, it means that you're out of control, all this kind of thing. But actually emotions are just giving you feedback to your surroundings, so
Of
why
course
is
they
that
are.
bad?
And you need to sit with those emotions. It's really, really important to sit with those emotions. And even if they're the perceived, again, it's good and bad, isn't it? We've got, you know, we've got into this situation where this is a good emotion and this is a bad emotion. You know, just because you feel sad or you feel like you want to cry, that's not bad. That's just how you're feeling. And I think, you know, if you're going to suppress those emotions, that's the problem. If you suppress what you're feeling and don't allow yourself to sit with that. And this is, again, going off topic, but this is where meditation comes into its own, or some guided kind of relaxation that is so accessible on YouTube, to just allow you to sit with your emotion. And if you need to cry, if you need to shout, just get it out, because once it's out, it's almost like the demons have come out, isn't it? And I think you kind of feel like quite refreshed afterwards.
Yeah,
and you know, another trigger another thing that really works for me as well is if I feel that I'm unconsciously kind of, you know, going to the fridge and seeking food, I will just interrupt it with another behaviour like you were mentioning, and I'll kind of run up and down the stairs a few times, and it's kind of, you've interrupted that kind of thought process and that behaviour, and lo and behold, you're not hungry. You're kind of like, oh, okay, I've managed to avoid that, and it feels good to do that as well.
no, definitely.
Yeah, but I think it's important to say as well that, you know, this isn't about vilifying emotional eating or saying that it's a bad thing. It's about just checking in and being aware, really, that, you know, what you're actually doing and whether you do need that food. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I definitely do. I see so many females that I know, like, what upsets me the most is how much they beat upon themselves that they've done it. And I've been there myself, and it's a real strange and horrible place to be, that you talk to yourself in such a negative way. People don't realize the power of their thoughts, and how you talk to yourself can massively impact your self-esteem, how you care about yourself. And what I'll try and do is create like a toolkit that we can look more at self-love. So often when looking at emotional eating, it's a bit too deep for the toolkit. So I'll try and create another one. Is that when you're hurting yourself, because that's what you're doing, you're harming yourself when you're having excess calories into your body that your body just can't handle. If you're doing that repeatedly, it's coming from a place that you're hurting yourself, and the question has to be why. From my coaching clients, and even from my own self-exploration, it's usually things that will come up of like, I'm not worthy, I'm not worth enough, I don't love myself. So it's like, if I don't love myself, then I'm just going to show myself that I don't, because I don't deserve to be healthy. I don't deserve to have a healthy life. I don't, you know, it comes down to that, and that's like a lot deeper. But you will find that can be like the further end of the spectrum. Which is quite sad. But it is just starting to claw it back, and just what can really help is to put perspective on, as you said, if you have a chocolate bar, it's a couple of 100 calories. It's not gonna hurt you in a week.
It really isn't.
Is it?
Yeah, and it's just about the whole, you know, what you're putting in around all of that, you know.
Yeah,
and
massively.
I think that's, you know, that's the big thing that we need to create awareness on, is that it's not just that one thing that you do, or the 2 or 3, or it doesn't matter. It is what it is. It's just more about, you know, connecting to your body and connecting to your emotions, and understanding the behavior and the reasons behind that behavior. Because once you've got that understanding, you are better equipped to then manage it a little bit better. But yeah, we all do it. We've all done it. We're all doing it. And we will continue to do it, but hopefully, you know, we'll be able to help people just be more aware about it. So with regards to what we're going to do moving forward, so we have obviously this YouTube video. We also have
Make sense of it. Yeah.
I know, if you can make sense of it, hopefully you can.
We go
But
off in
we have a
tangents.
supplementary handout to go with it, which is discussed, or it's just basically summarised all of the content that we've discussed. And then if people do want to work with us further, then we are developing online courses that people can enter on to help tackle these specific issues, and just dive deeper into the kind of psychology behind it all, and the nutrition aspect of it as well. So yeah, feel free to peruse our Facebook page of all our content.
Definitely. One thing I might find that you might find that's helpful, though, as a little takeaway, is as you know, as Rachel knows, I love listening to meal podcasts, and there's a really helpful one about identity and the process and the outcome. So what he was saying is, say for instance, we always say, how many of you say I'll start Monday? So you've got Saturday and Sunday. Are you gonna eat everything and then start on Monday? So I did this kind of with running. I know it sounds really silly, but he was saying basically, if you don't wait for a day to suddenly start something. You're not looking at the process to get from A to B. So you're not looking at the process to get to your goal weight, or to be eating healthy, or to be a runner. Just say to yourself, so I'm saying to myself now, I am a runner. And from that, I run. The process is the running, getting my gym gear on, going outside, doing the distance. The outcome is that I've run, because I'm holding the identity that I am a runner. So it's the same if you're a smoker. When people go, oh, I've stopped smoking now and it's been 20 days. No, you're just a non-smoker. Yeah, you're not an ex-smoker, you're just a non-smoker. So that can really help. But anyway, I digress. I just thought that was really helpful when it comes to like eating as well.
Yeah, I think there's so many things out there that can help people. So yeah, it's just our job to kind of keep sharing this, and just making people realize that they're not alone, and you know, we all feel the same way. Even us professionals, you know, I've been in nutrition for kind of interested in nutrition for 20 years, and it's still, you know, there's just always going to be these periods of time where there's going to be more challenges, but we will face them together.
Absolutely. Fabulous. All right, my lovely. Well, we shall see what we will talk about next week.
Yes. All right. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to